guys, Balls96 here, video is 0, and in today's video we are looking at each of the Premier League teams, and more specifically who I think was each team's player of the season. Hopefully there's going to be some picks that you agree with. There could be some that you don't agree with, but make sure you stick around to find out who I pick for my players of the season. Arsenal, Martin Odegaard. There were a few standout players for Arsenal this season, the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, the list goes on, but I think if you have a player in your team who spent the season being compared to Kevin De Bruyne, then they've got to be your player of the season. He brought so much more than just goals, but just having a look at that for a minute. Odegaard scored 15 goals and got 8 assists in the league, and in comparison, De Bruyne scored 7 goals and got 18 assists. The fact that he scored 8 more goals than De Bruyne and contributed to just 2 less than him from the same position is incredible. He always had potential and has gradually been improving, but this is the first season where he has looked absolutely world class. If he continues these numbers up and stays in the Premier League for a long time to come, he will put his name in the history books as one of the better midfielders to have graced this league. Aston Villa, Emiliano Martinez. This was a hard choice between Martinez, Watkins and Douglas Luiz. I was going to go for Watkins as he had a fantastic season and scored a bunch of goals, but I'm going for the man who won the World Cup during the middle of the season. Martinez had the joint 6th highest total for clean sheets and finished the season having made 98 saves, which puts him only behind Alisson and De Gea in the top 8 for most saves. In total, Aston Villa were only 3 goals off having the 2nd best goals against record in the league all season. If it wasn't for Martinez, Villa would have conceded a bunch more goals, and I'm certain that they wouldn't have got into Europe. Again, Watkins had a brilliant season and it was hard not to pick him, but I've opted for the man in goal. Bournemouth, Philip Billing. Bournemouth had a season to remember, having finished in 15th, which is well above where everyone had them finishing. The squad as a whole played brilliantly together, and it was that chemistry that kept them in this league. But if I am to pick a standout, it has to be Billing. Finishing the season with 7 goals, making him the team's top goal scorer from midfield as well. That is a brilliant turnaround. He was a dominant force in the midfield and defended just as well as he attacked, which was vital to Bournemouth staying up this season. Brentford, Ivan Toney. Could have looked at Brentford's exemplary defensive record with the likes of Ben Mee or David Raya, but I can't ignore the 3rd highest goal scorer in the league this season. 20 goals for Toney for a Brentford striker is an unreal return. He is outright one of the best strikers in the league and definitely stands out as the star man at Brentford. His ban from football next season is going to have a massive impact on their season, and I think we will see even more so just how vital he is to this team. Brighton, Solly March. This might not be a fashionable pick with the likes of McAllister, Matoma and Caicedo, who have had fantastic seasons for this team, but it is the right pick. Solly March was unreal for Brighton this season and just kept up a consistent run of form throughout the whole season. 7 goals and 7 assists puts him in at 2nd for most goals contributed within the team this season, and an average of 2 key passes per game, again, puts him comfortably in at 2nd in the team. These stats are a clear indication of how critical he was to Brighton's goal output this season, and the fact he partners those stats with a massive 6 man of the matches from 33 games played. That means that he was recognised as Brighton's best player once every 5.5 games he played this season. He has earned top spot for player of the season in my eyes. Chelsea, Thiago Silva. He's just brilliant Silva, isn't he? To still be this good at 38 years of age is ridiculous. Chelsea had a horrific season, and a lot of those players can have the finger pointed at them for not being good enough. I don't think the same can be said for Silva. He stood head and shoulders above the rest of the Chelsea defence, and despite their ineptitude, he still came out with pretty good individual stats. Crystal Palace, Eberechi Eze. This was a toss-up between Eze and Elise for me. Eze scored 10 goals and set up 4. Elise only scored 2, but set up 11. All of their offensive stats were very similar to one another, and really I could have picked either one of these, but I've opted for Eze. Reason being for me is that from a general standpoint, currently he is the better all-round player and contributes more to the team from an all-round attacking perspective. Only Zaha is better at running with the ball than Eze, and his pass success rate is the best in the team. top goal scorer and second for most assists. Both are very good players, but Eze pips it for me. Everton, Jordan Pickford. I think there are a few options here. McNeil was the top goal scorer, Tarkowski improved the defence, Iwobi and Onana had pretty solid seasons in midfield, but I think Pickford is the reason why they stayed up. He made the third amount of saves this season with 124. Yes, he would have faced more shots than most teams because of how poor Everton were, but that is still an impressive figure. He had a few games where he made absolutely vital saves, and if it was another goalkeeper who might have just let in a couple of those vital saves, then Everton would be in the Championship next season. Fulham, Alexander Mitrovic. Newcomers Leno and Paulinho were vital to Fulham's success this season and were two of their better players, but I couldn't ignore Mitro. When you factor in how many games he missed from the suspension towards the end of the season and a couple of niggly injuries in between, his goal return of 14 in 24 appearances is unreal. Looking at his minutes meant that he scored a goal every 143 minutes of game time. Better than the likes of Ivan Toney, Ollie Watkins, Marcus Rashford and Mo Salah. That is outrageous and deserves recognition. Fair play to Mitro. I think he has finally got past the whole too good for the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League label. Leeds United, Rodrigo. There were other players in the team who played more than Rodrigo and perhaps generally helped the team more, but this guy was the only player scoring on a consistent basis. Leeds would have got relegated a lot earlier than the last day of the season if you took away Rodrigo's goals. He scored 13 in 1,945 minutes of play, which means he was scoring a goal only 6 minutes less often than the aforementioned Mitro. Tyler Adams or Jack Harrison were probably the closest contenders for this pick, and others might think they were the best player for this team. No one in the Leeds squad got close to Rodrigo's output or did enough to keep them up. Leicester City, James Maddison. I think Harvey Barnes would have a shout at this pick as well, but for me, Maddison was the best player in that squad this season. 10 goals and 9 assists unfortunately weren't enough to keep them in the league, but it is a brilliant output for an attacking midfielder of a relegated side. He is the star player of that team and will be on the move this summer, I'm sure. His control of the play is brilliant and the goals that he brings will be huge for whichever team he ends up joining. Liverpool, Alisson. I was of the right mind to pick Salah, and with 19 goals and 12 assists, I probably should be picking him. It's just that his form earlier in the season was lacking, whereas Alisson has been consistently brilliant throughout. 14 clean sheets puts him in joint second, only De Gea having got more, and he made 108 saves this season, putting him joint fourth most in the league and higher than any other goalkeeper in the top 8 teams. To have had to make that many saves and still have so many clean sheets is phenomenal. He was the difference maker for Liverpool in a lot of games this season with those saves. He was my Premier League goalkeeper of the season and he is my Liverpool player of the season. Manchester City, Erling Haaland. De Bruyne has been consistently fantastic yet again this season, but there is only one man for it and it is Erling Haaland. He was my Premier League player of the season and so he of course wins this entry. I still can't believe the guy is only 22 years of age. To have scored 36 goals and contributed 44 in the league this season, his first season playing in England, is outrageous. He is one of the best players in the world right now and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. Manchester United, Casemiro. Casemiro has been the difference for United this season. A couple of months ago it was being bandied about everywhere how Manchester United's win record with Casemiro in the team was 75%, whilst it was only 42% without him. Despite Rashford's goals and De Gea's clean sheets, you simply cannot look past those numbers. Despite the quality of Casemiro, I wasn't sure this signing was going to be a success. Fair play. Definitely been proven wrong on this one. Newcastle United, Kieran Trippier. Trippier has been an unreal for Newcastle this season. He was the perfect signing for them and has consistently proven his quality within this Champions League qualified team. He played nearly every minute of every game and never let up once. 8 Man of the Match awards Trippier got this season. 8. That is incredible and fair play to him. He has led this team brilliantly since his arrival. Honourable mention to Callum Wilson though, who has been outrageous from a goal and is second only to Haaland for the best goals per minute record this season. Nottingham Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White. Best young player of the season in the league for me and the best player for Forest this season. A few of the new boys such as Felipe Navas and Awoniyi had very good seasons, but Gibbs-White just did everything. Tackling, scoring, assisting, dribbling, passing, he was the standout in pretty much every area in my eyes. Nottingham Forest have done well getting him in. What a baller. Southampton, James Ward-Prowse. Southampton did have a couple of players who performed well, but Ward-Prowse was a step above, and in fact, if you look at the bottom half of the table, he was arguably the best player out of the bottom 10 teams. 9 goals and 4 assists weren't enough to keep Southampton up, but fair play to him, he did all that he could to lead that team through. To be honest, he deserves this entry purely for some of his free kicks, which have been the most memorable part of their season. Spurs, Harry Kane. No question with this one, is there? Kane, strangely in Tottenham's worst season for years, has actually had his best season, which even more strangely has gone much more under the radar than it has any right in doing because of Erling Haaland. His 30-goal tally puts him joint 9th for most goals in a single season during the Premier League era, which is his second time achieving that tally. But as a bit of a mad stat, he didn't win the Golden Boot in either of those seasons. Insane. Harry Kane has been incredible this year and was easily the best player for Spurs this season. West Ham United, Jarrod Bowen. Saïd Benrahma had a good season, but he didn't play as much. Declan Rice was probably the closest contender on this, but I've opted for Jarrod Bowen. He contributed to the most goals this season and was joint top goal scorer for them. He didn't quite hit the heights of the previous campaign, but he still had a few very important performances for West Ham, and after his goal in the Europa Conference League final, he will go down as a legend for this club. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves has been Wolves' standout player pretty much every season they've been back in the Premier League. They did not have a good season and this wasn't his best, but he still performed to a higher level than the rest of his teammates. Wonderful passer of the ball and came up with some important goals this season. I think he could be on the move this season to a team in Europe, but he has been an excellent servant to this club and yet again was their player of the season. So there we have it, guys. If you liked the video, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe and let me know down below what you thought of my picks, and make sure to check me out across my other socials. I stream on Twitch and I put out content on YouTube where you're watching this video, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, all under the same handle, Bolts96, but the O is 0. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.